Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Revelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Wednesday, the 1st of February, 2017. This is episode 210 on schedule. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. So how was your week? My week was pretty good. Kind of stressful at work, but not overly stressful. The big thing this week though was last night my kids had their winter concert at school and we got there late for us. Like we were there on time-ish, but late for me because we were supposed to be there at 4:45 and we had all been cleaning and I looked at my phone and it was 4:37 and I was like, oh no, I have to get 5 kids ready to walk out the door, shoes, coats. It's like wrangling cats. So we got there at probably 4:50, which felt super late for me because normally we would be there at like 4:40. So we were pretty far back in the seats, but I could hear Mara's very off-key singing all the way where I was. I love my child, but pretty sure she's tone deaf. I don't care. She sings super loud and it makes her happy, so it makes me happy. And Gabriel was super cute and like he's one of those kids who like jams along with the music and like bops to the beat a little bit. And Mara did all of the hand motions that went along with all of the songs. Sorry about that. I'll just make this quiet. So anyway, it was really, really cute. And yeah, it was good. So what do I have for you? I have some finished mitts, which you can't really see the texture because it's black and I'm backlit. And someday I will figure out better lighting, but today is not that day. I'm really sorry. These are mitts for Mary Lee. And last week I didn't put a progress keeper on here. I think that last week I was I just cast on and done like 2 rounds or something, and or cast on up here because I did them top down. I'm pretty sure that's where I was last week. So I finished them. They were really quick. You could make a pair of these mitts, which are I used side cable mitts by Mirkwood Elf as a guide for numbers. I didn't use the design from the pattern at all, so I just did bands of garter stitch and stockinette because I made her a hat that had stockinette and reverse stockinette bands, but I didn't want to do all that purling. So they're finished. Really quick knit if I, just sit down and work on that because it's bulky weight. Like you could make those mitts in an afternoon. I think I already said that. I'm sorry. My cat is driving me nuts right now. So that means that I picked up the other work in progress that I said was going to be my focus last week, and that is the Talk sock. Got these bands of garter stitch and stockinette. It's kind of my thing this week, I guess. And I made a pretty decent amount of progress. So the stitch marker is on the back of the sock because for the leg of the sock, the beginning is right here, and then you move the beginning of the round to the middle of the back of the sock so you can't see that seam detail on the side of your socks. It's on the back. I finished the band I was working on. I got to the heel. So there's this progress keeper. And then I finished the patterning that's on the top of the foot because the patterning for the Tock socks does not go all the way down the foot unless you have extremely short feet. I finished the patterning, so now I'm just on the stockinette part, and I actually need to count rounds because I don't know that I put down a note of how many rounds I did before I started the toe decreases on these socks. I don't think I did. And I also didn't write down how I did my toe. I mean, it's whatever I wrote in the pattern. But I may have written myself a note, so I need to look through my show notes and my actual journal, see if I wrote it down. But yeah, so I'm on this just stockinette part, so that will zoom. This sock better be done by next week. No excuses for it not to be done because it's just stockinette and then a toe decrease. The yarn that I am using is Science Monkey Mercantile in the Northern Bogs colorway. And like all of my socks, it's knit on a US size 1, 2.25 millimeter. And I just want to finish these socks so that I can start wearing them. I know that I should save my socks, like the ones that I design, for samples, theoretically. But I don't. I just wear them. I can always knit more socks, right? So yeah, this is the first one that I knit so that I could actually, write up the pattern design. Here's the second. So this should be finished next week. And then I'm going to work really hard on the rhombus socks because those need to be done. They've been on I literally did not work on them at all in January. I don't think I even picked them up one day, maybe within the first couple days of January, but after that, no. I know because I have a tracker in my journal for what I work on what days. Like I fill in a little square for things I work on, and that has 0 squares filled in. That's so bad. So that's going to be my focus thing for reels, because I can just have it sit on my bed and I will figure out a different travel project, but that'll be my focus knitting for, especially on days off. But talking about days off, I do have 3 projects that I only work on my days off. I'm not super concerned about finishing them in a time frame. So I'm going to show them to you because I think I'm going to show these projects to you on the first podcast of the month instead of, all the time, because I don't make a ton of progress on them. This first pair of socks is knit. It was a Christmas Eve cast on, and I'm knitting it using yarn from Christina. Both of these yarns are West Yorkshire Spinners. This, the red for the toe is called Cherry Drop, and then this patterned stuff is Holly Berry. So I'm knitting them toe up, but I literally only do 2 rounds on my days off, so that progress is happening. But then I put it away and work on all the other things because I have so many other things that I like working on. That sounded bad. Not to say that I don't like working on these. I do. I just don't. I want this to last a while because I love the colors so, so much. And they're for me, so it doesn't really matter when they're finished. But yeah, this is the progress that I've made since I showed them last, which I think was on the 10th of January, which means I probably haven't been picking this up on every day off. But over the last week I have. So that's this one. And then I also worked on the, what's it called? Winter Footsteps socks by Louise Tilbrook. And these are knit using Patton's Croy and a gray marl for the toes. I'm going to do heels and cuffs in that gray also, probably cuffs. I'm not 100% committed to doing cuffs in this, but probably. But that's what this is the pattern. And it's the Wildfoot yarn, which is put out by Brown Sheep Company in the colorway Rocky Gorge. And for this one, I do half a pattern repeat So 4 rounds each day off. So it's growing at double the rate of the other sock. So these will obviously be done sooner. You can tell that just by looking. But I'm really, really close. So I'm going to do 4 rounds today, and then I only have 6 rounds to go before the heel. That's pretty cool. So, I mean, I could get to the heel today if I wanted, but again, I kind of want this to be a longer process sock so that I'm still working on things for me while I'm working on things for other people, which I know that in January, a lot of the things I was working on were for me, but I have a lot of plans for things for other people starting this month. So I might talk about those later in this podcast, depending on length and stuff, but I might not. And then the other thing that I only work on my days off is the Buffalo Crossing, which is a pattern by me. And I'm using US 7, which is, I think, 4.5 millimeter needles. And I do a pattern repeat every day off. So this is how much progress I've made since you saw it last. The yarn is Lion Brand Scarfy in, I don't actually know the colorway of this. I'll have to look it up on the full skein that I have. So yeah, it's going slowly, but again, if I get it finished this winter, cool. If I don't get it finished until next winter, also fine. And it's blankies, because this really kind of is the year of blankies. This is a new thing. I had it started last week, but I didn't show it to you. And I actually didn't work on it this past week, but I'm going to show it to you because I would like to finish it this week. This is a little star blanket. It's actually called Beth's Little Star Afghan. So there it is. And I'm making it using Red Heart Super Saver in the Monet colorway. And I think that I might stripe this yarn with some white just to give it some bands to make this go a little further, make the blanket a little bigger, but I'm not 100% on that. So I really want this done I'd like to finish it this week, but definitely by the 10th, because we're going down to Kentucky that weekend. And this is for a friend who lives down there. So, and she's pretty close to her due date. She may have already had her baby and I just haven't heard about it. But I'd like to be able to give that to her. I also worked on the bias stripe, though not very much. I only did 15 rows because I just didn't pick it up, not for any particular reason. Actually, I had it with me all the time. I just didn't work on it, which is fine. It'll grow as it's going to grow. Again, it's a blanket that I'm only using leftovers that I really love. So I have a very limited amount of yarn that I'm willing to put in this blanket right now. So that's fine. I'll get to it when I get to it. I also worked on my granny stripe blanket, and I'm in the middle of a row, but that's fine. I didn't work on it very much because, as I mentioned last week, I have green leftover yarns. Not as much as I have of blue, though. So this is kind of where I'm having a problem. I have some green leftovers, but I want them to go into my Barners Zing Square and Mitered Square blanket, and if appropriate, into my bias stripe blanket before it goes into this blanket if I'm worried about running out of yarn. So I was on this stripe right here, which means I've only done 2, well, I guess 3, because I finished that stripe out, and then I've done 2 full stripes. This stripe right here is actually a Nooch Fiber Mini, so it goes all the way across. This one is Madeline Tosh in the Lichen colorway that I used to make the string band hat by Stephen West. And then this is Diabolical. I don't remember the colorway that I used to make the sample mitts for the pattern that I am trying to publish, but my samples have disappeared before I was able to take photos. So I might just need to knit new samples of that. I mean, I took pictures of them, but they're not good pictures. Maybe I should just put them in as placeholder pictures. And then when I finally find the mitts again, or reknit the mitts, because they go really fast, I can take good pictures and update the pattern. I'm not in love with the idea of publishing a pattern that looks a little haphazard. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, because I have the pictures that I took to send to my test knitters, but I don't have like the final nice pictures because I can't find the mitts. Frustrating. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so that's not a lot of progress, but again, it's fine. It'll be finished when it gets finished. I'm still working on it. I didn't pick it up for a few days in there, but I have been working on it pretty steadily. So as long as it gets done this year, it'll be fine. I also worked on modular projects a fair bit. And by a fair bit, I mean a lot. I put together some puffs to make a little pod, so I'm going to attach this to my blanket. And then I knit 4 hexapuffs, which takes me to 627. So this is 2 different colorways of Patton's Croy. This was a leftover from somebody. I'm sorry, I don't remember who these leftovers are now. Another leftover from somebody. I rearranged things, and so now I don't know who the minis are from for sure, and I don't want to say the wrong thing. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So this one is Barn Raising Square number 99. It is knit out of Daisy Knits sock base, just the regular merino nylon in the, oh my gosh, I can believe that I can't remember the colorway name. It's the leftovers from the sample crusting knits that I designed using her yarn. And this is square number 100. 100. I think that I need 216, like that number is stuck in my head, but that could be incorrect, but I think that's what I figured out forever ago. So this is square number 100, which means I'm getting dangerously close to the halfway point for how many squares I need. I might pull out, not all of the squares that I have, but I might pull out some squares and start like kind of piecing together, just so that I don't have 200 something squares to put together at the end. But yeah, this is number 100. I think this is yarn from Haley, but it might not be. It might be yarn from Jen. Then I'm gonna call this modular a little bit. I did 2 beads on my garland because this was one of my whips that I'm working on as part of the New Year's resolution. So I got 2 beads. This is a Red Heart Super Saver purple color. I don't know, it's just a little scrappy bit, but I know it's Red Heart. And then this is Lion Brand Scarfy in a blue color. So let me admit to failing pretty bad for January for keeping up with the works in progress that I'm supposed to be working on. So I was supposed to work on the silk spinning, which I did. That one's good. But then this garland, which I only half did, but I have the 2 other beads that I need to complete in order for it to count for the hour of work on this already cast on with my next set of hexapuffs that I'm doing. So that's underway, so I'll be able to check that one off soon. But the other projects are Gourmet Stash in the Harry Potter things. So I need to spend an hour on that, which that'll be easy. I really like spinning on that. I haven't been spinning a lot recently. I want to get back to it. So that's the most recent one that I needed to work on. And then my sister's sweater I was supposed to work an hour on, and I haven't, but I did pull it out of the whip basket today. So at least it's not buried. And then the Totoro mitts, I'm supposed to do an hour on those. Hopefully I'll work on those in the next week, but I'm still going to keep drawing the whips that I'm supposed to be working on. I'm not going to give up on it just because I had a bad month. I'm going to try to catch up on those. The other modular thing that I did a lot of work on is my mitered square blanket. So this quadrant was not finished last week, but now it is. And the new squares are this one right here, which I don't know what this square is, but this yarn is incredibly beautiful. I love this yarn. I would make everything out of this. And then this is yarn from Christina. And this, I'm not sure who this is from. So those three. And then this one right here is that same Nooch fiber mini. And then this right here is, I don't remember what the yarn is. I got this yarn from Radhika, who is, she opened a thread like 5 years ago or something, or a really long time ago, saying that she would exchange yarn, like indie dyed yarn, for stories about knitting, like personal stories about how you learned how to knit or crochet, or things like that. So I said yes, and she sent me so many, like 15 skeins or something of indie dyed yarn for 2 stories. It was amazingly generous and fabulous. And I used a lot of them. I gifted a couple of them. But this was just a very little mini skein. So I used the mini skein in my sister's sock yarn blanket, and then I didn't touch it. And now it's in my mitered square blanket, and I'm going to use the rest of it in a barn raising square. I don't think it's even going to finish a barn raising square, so it'll just have a really big black border instead of just the outline, but I'm fine with that because it has this like dark color right here. But this colorway is called Ariel. It's in my Ravelry stash, I'm pretty sure. So you can see it, and it's just so pretty. And it was like the most precious mini skein because it was, it was a mini skein, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do anything with it because then it'll be gone and it needs to be perfect. So these blankets are perfect because I, first of all, love blankets. I use blankets every day, including in the summertime. We don't have air conditioning. I still sleep under a blanket. So it's perfect, and I just love that colorway so much. And I have started a square, but I literally just picked up the stitches and then knit back. So I'll show you that to you next week, and I'm not counting it as anything this week. But this is the yarn that I'll be using, which is super beautiful. I have some new things, which are not super duper new, but they're from Haley. And I felt like I should get back to showing you some of the new things that Haley sent me. I'm going to do new things, and then I'm going to talk about books, and then I'm going to talk about my plans for February. So if you're interested in any of that, but not what I'm talking about immediately, skip ahead. I'm not going to timestamp it, but those are the things that I'm going to talk about still. This week, I'm going to show you some cross-stitch stuff that she sent me. This is called At the Beach, and this will be the next one that I start. because I'm going to make it for Haley. So she already knows. She was talking about it, about how it was really cute, but she wasn't sure if she wanted to, you know, pick it up and make it. And I was like, I'll make it for you, no problem. So I'm going to start this possibly this month, possibly next month. It's hard to tell. And then she sent me a whole bunch of supplies. So this is a kit that I don't even know what it is. Oh, yes. It's an advent calendar. So that's super cute. Some silver stranded cross stitch Ada in white. Silver standard. I said stranded. This cute coffee chalkboard, which I kind of want to make for my sister because she's a Starbucks addict. This is inspirational assortment. Live simply, love truly, laugh freely. This is Ada by Fabrics by LJ. It's called Swimming Pool. And I've never worked with hand-dyed fabric for cross stitch, obviously, because I haven't been doing cross stitch that long. I did it a very little bit when I was little, but not so much recently. And then the rest are these tiny, not tiny, but pretty small cross stitch things that I think I'm going to make into Christmas tree ornaments. Like, they're not extremely Christmassy, but they're not extremely not Christmassy either. So there's a little cup, and it comes with that frame, and that frame has a little ring. So they all have that. So that's like perfect for a Christmas tree ornament. And then a nesting doll and a mushroom. And see, they're all like red and green and stuff. And then a little sailboat, which, you know, is not extremely Christmassy, but I don't necessarily feel that my Christmas tree ornaments for my handmade Christmas tree that I someday want to have need to be expressly Christmassy, because this owl is not expressly Christmassy, but look at how cute it is. So those I think will all go on my Christmas tree. And maybe, okay, so I said I was going to do the sock monkey as an ornament soon. So maybe once I finish the sock monkey, so this first, and then the sock monkey, and then maybe these, and maybe I'll just like try to work on those throughout the year. And I'm not going to be like, I need to finish all of those by the end of the year, but when they're this size, I can carry them around in my purse and not worry about them getting messed up. So they're really easy to work on the go. The physical book that I'm reading right now is called Anti-Darken by Kirsten White. And I've never read this author before, but I was looking up a different book at the library to see if they have it, and they didn't, and I put it on hold. I don't remember what it is. Maybe it's the new Marissa Meyer book. That sounds right. And you know, they bring up searches based on what might be related to it, that sort of thing. So this popped up, and they have the descriptions of books, and I saw Vlad Dracula, and I was like, oh, I'm getting that. Like, I'm obsessed with vampires. I just am. Like, they're my favorite go-to when I'm like, I want to read something, but I don't know what I want to read. I read something about vampires. So I saw that, and I put it on hold, and it came into the library. And it's the first book in what's going to be a trilogy. It's a new book, so starting a trilogy that doesn't have the books out. That's fine. It is about the daughter of Vlad Dracula, and her name is Ladislav, but she goes by Lada. And she's not a likable character. I don't love the writing style. It's not, it's kind of dry. It's told third person. Which is not a style that I love. I don't love books written in the third person. I don't hate them. That's not a deal breaker, but I much prefer first person narrative. So I don't love the book, but I feel compelled to read it. Does that make sense? Not like I'm torturing myself and I'm like, oh, well, I got it, I better read it. Like, I don't want to return it. I want to read it, kind of, but I don't love the reading of it. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to like the story. It's just building up to get there, I think. I do like her brother, well, one of her brothers. I like him as a character. I feel like he is really interesting, even though the character building in this is not great. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So, I mean, if you like vampire things and you like young adult, maybe look into this. But if you don't like young adult and you don't like vampires, don't. It's not terrible, it's just not great. So, I am on 120 and there's like 475 pages in here, so I probably won't be finished next week, but maybe. I did finish reading that the Nordic happiness book thing that I was reading last week. That word. I finished reading that day and took it back to the library. So it was good. I enjoyed the things after the recipes. And again, the recipes were fine. It's just not what I was in the mood to read at that point. I am listening via audiobook to Audible to Ghost Story by Jim Butcher, which I just started. I'm only an hour and a half into, and it's pretty good. It's a Dresden File book. It's narrated by James Marsters, and I'm enjoying it, but I don't love it yet because it's just started. It's really, really different from the other Dresden Files. The whole premise is really different than the other ones, I guess. I mean, it still follows Harry Dresden, wizard, but I don't know. There's one big change in this story that takes place in Changes, and so this whole book is just totally different. But I'm definitely gonna listen to it. Like, it's not unenjoyable. So I know that I'm going to like it once I get into it. But again, I'm only an hour into it. Hour and a half. I'm also listening to Eye of the World by Robert Jordan in my vehicle. And I am more than halfway finished. So I'm enjoying that still too. And then this morning, I have a couple stories from this morning that are children related. So first about the book, because that's where it popped into my brain. The kids were actually being quiet in the vehicle this morning, which pretty much never happens, but I took advantage of it by turning on an audiobook and by turning on Eye of the World. And my nephew was listening to it and he was like, this is a really good writer. This is written really, really well. Very interesting. I said, yeah, Robert Jordan is like the thing for high epic fantasy. So that was really cool. And he's been interested on and off in the audiobook. Obviously, he hasn't heard the whole thing because most of my listening to it is not with the children. Not because I think that any of it is wildly inappropriate. I mean, there are things that are kind of scary, and there are things that are like there are monsters and there's fighting and stuff, but there's not like coarse language. So far, there's not any sexual content. So they don't even listen to the stuff on the radio usually. They usually talk, so it doesn't matter. But I might try to get my nephew into those books in a couple years. He's 11, so maybe like 13. He does read a lot though, so it's not completely out of his wheelhouse. Oh man, I was just talking to him the other week about books. I think he hasn't read the Divergent trilogy. I have to go to the library today, so I might see if they have that one in. Sorry, that has nothing to do with anything, just a memo to myself. And then the other thing that was, children are hilarious. This morning, Mara said that she wanted her hair done in 2 ponytails. So I gave her pigtails, and she has the back of her head shaved. I mean, it's not shaved to nothing, but like this from here down is shaved, which is super cute. I used to have my hair cut like that all the time. Maybe even when I was first starting podcasting, my hair was cut like that. I don't know. And I'm going to cut it like that when I cut all of this off again. Probably next year. It'll probably be donatable length then. But then she had the pigtails, and my kids are super cute. So I was like, why are you so adorable? And she said, I just am. But the way she said it, like, I started cracking up, and my sister cracked up, and my niece and nephew were still inside. My son and other nephew had already gone outside because, we were on our way out the door when she asked for pigtails. They're just so cute. Kids are super cute. Okay, so February plans. I haven't done the to finish off this month in a while, not since I moved. So I don't know where my blanket is, but I'm going to take a picture later today of the projects that I want to finish this month. So this is what I've got. The Talk Sock, that baby blanket that I just showed you. I also want to make a pair of slippers for children because I've decided that's what I'm doing, because I still want to make them something for Christmas, but I'm going to make them all slippers for around the house because everybody's feet are always cold. I'm going to make seamless Salomas because it's fast, it's good pattern, and I'm going to use Red Heart because then I'm not going to be like, it's not a huge time investment to make them. It's not a huge money investment for the yarn, especially since I have still a collection of Red Heart Super Saver from other makings. And because my mom just gives me her leftover skeins when she finishes projects, and she pretty much only uses acrylic yarn. So I'm going to make a pair for a small human, which means, what am I working on that's on those needles? Oh, the Buffalo Crossing. I'll probably have to move the Buffalo Crossing onto different needles for, the 3 days that I'm working on those slippers. I want to finish the rhombus socks. And then Haley and I are going to make ourselves some Valentine's Day socks, and we are going to use the Pink Sugar colorway of Premier Serenity sock. She cast hers on. That's what that first text message was at the beginning of this podcast, was her telling me she's casting on. And I will be casting on as soon as I find my yarn. I'm just going to make shorty socks because I only have the 50 grams of yarn. I'm probably going to work from the inside and outside. I'm not worried about stripes matching up. But how fun is that going to be to have matching-ish socks with Haley? Super fun. And I can't find that ball of yarn though. I've gone through every place that I think I could have put it. So now I need to go through all the places where it could have just been a child picked it up and set it down so that I can cast it on. I would like to do that today. And then I think the only other thing that I want to do is make the first sock for Josh out of that. I don't remember what the pattern is called. We call it the Gobstopper socks. So I want to make the first one of that. And I think that's everything. And then, of course, continuing to work on blankets and continuing to work on my old UFOs. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm trying to remember if there's maybe another project that's on my list. There is one more. My friend Megan, I call her Bacon because Mara used to say her name Macon. Not quite like that. Like, she just said her G kind of like a C, but not quite like a C. It was a very interesting sound, and it sounded like bacon. So I started calling her Bacon. And she asked if I would make her a bacon cat for Christmas. It's a little bit after Christmas, but I should be able to make it quick. I haven't decided if I'm going to use a pattern or just come up with something on the fly, but I'll figure something out. And I'm pretty sure that's it for the things that I want to finish this month, which sounds a little ambitious, but it's fine. I'll make it work. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you next week. Bye.